Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Breakfast Club. I'm kind of sick today, and the only thing that's keeping me really running right now is as a product that's only been recreationally legal in this state for the past couple of years. Um, I get irritated at people who don't even attempt to try to figure out what other people are saying. Take into context, where someone might be coming from in their thinking, or take into context things they said earlier. But no, you're like, no, you didn't word it like this, therefore I can't understand anything that you're saying. Now, I mean, there's the other side of the coin to that, where when people are told over and over again, hey, when you say this is how other people usually interpret it. I know what you're saying, but this is how other people interpret it. But you still refuse to change the way something was worded. Oh, I'm wording it this way for shock value. It's like, well, the only people that are going to really listen, truly, when it comes to some of these subjects, are the people who already think that way. Now, you're rallying the choir. So, but there are people who, not once do they acknowledge anything that you're saying. And it's just like a constant nitpicking at the way that something has been worded. There'll be lots of this, well, technically. And they'll go into some long explanation, and I'm like, well, did you understand what was being said? Do you think most other people understand what's being said? And you can look at the comment section and see that other people completely understand what was being said, but you want to get on your little high horse and, oh, well, technically. It's just like, I mean, again, it makes sense to say something if it seems like people are going to take what was said wrong over that technicality. Okay, that's a perfectly legitimate thing to point out. Hey, if you word it this way, this is how people are going to think of it. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. And there's been many times I haven't thought about that sort of thing. And people point it out, and it's great. But it's just when the other person just wants to prove how much they know. Like, I mean, like, I'll say, well, technically, and they'll give their explanation, and then you say, well, yes, but I'm trying to relate it to the, well, and then they'll find something else, and every little thing that you say, well, technically, and it ends up being an argument of infinite regress. There's just no going anywhere. It's just, well, okay, great. I'm glad that you know this plethora of information. Why don't you get on the show Jeopardy or something? And that just gets frustrating. You can't even get the person to agree on any terms, on words, on any of that. Most of the time it's, well, technically this isn't really this, so you can't say that. Okay, well, how would you word it? And then just my asking, how would you word it? Well, technically, and it's basically they should be saying, well, technically I can't tell you because I have no idea. Well, well, there's not a word for it, so I guess you can't talk about it. I don't know, that shit pisses me off. It does. It either pisses me off or it makes me laugh. Right now it's making me laugh thinking about it, in hindsight. But now, I mean, there are times when I haven't been able to pay attention to what someone is saying. There are times I get really, really spacey. Really spacey. And all I'll be able to focus on is the way that something is worded. And usually I'll just I'll let them know, hey, I can't focus very well right now. I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you or trying not to pay attention to what you're saying. When it's a face-to-face kind of thing, when that happens, I'll end up focusing on just the timbre of their voice, the hint of raspiness that everyone's voice has a little bit of, which shows, I mean, that's what gives someone the individual quality their voice has. I'll think about the way they pronounce words, the pitch of how they move around when they're talking. Do they, at the very, very end of everything, do they make it go down? Do they sometimes make it go up where it almost sounds like almost a question, but you know it's not a question, and you can blatantly tell by everything else in the way they move around? But that end has this little, stuff like that. And then I end up having to ask them to repeat themselves, and then if they repeated themselves a couple times and it's still just kind of going in that mode, I have to tell them, I'm sorry, I'm not able to focus very well right now. And again, I don't want you to think I'm trying not to pay attention. I'm just struggling right now, So, I totally understand not being able to focus at the time on something. But to me, if someone is in that mode, they should at least be honest with themselves enough to admit that, hey, they're kind of spacing right now. Or they need a little more time to think about what's being said, or something to that degree. But to just go into this thing of, well, technically, I mean, if the information they were giving actually helped carry along the conversation, that'd be great. But this isn't about that. This is about, well, look how much I know. It's like, well, okay. Oh, you need to listen to me. You need to listen to me. I don't know. It's just weird sometimes. I mean, most of the time, a conversation is about sharing opinions, sharing perspectives, sharing something of yourself. It's what makes the conversation worthwhile. If you didn't have that, if there wasn't the trading of that sort of thing, then it's just like, well, let's talk to my encyclopedia. Look at my online encyclopedia, and I can talk to it. Look, it has great artificial intelligence. I don't want to talk to an encyclopedia. I want to talk to a person. What are a lot of the feelings on things, and what backs up those feelings that you have? What is your perspective? The differences in our perspectives are what make life interesting, as far as I'm concerned. Things would be pretty fucking boring if everyone thought the same or had a similar perspective. Boring. I don't know. I don't understand how some people can they'll say they're a good listener. They'll say that they'll make these claims, and then they're so rational and logical, and they're such a great debater, but then they never focus on actually what's trying to be said. Some people who think that, well, debate is about picking apart someone's argument in the way that it's worded until it doesn't mean anything anymore. See, I won the debate. It's just like, what? No. How about the concepts to me are more important than the way that they're worded. I guess I'm just rambling. Thanks for listening and watching, and okay.